All right, welcome to the Jenkins Evergreen Open Planning Meeting. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so we can look through some tickets and stuff. Yeah, we're so close to something that's really cool and interesting. I'm looking forward to getting this milestone 1 wrapped up. So over the past week or two, there's been a lot of testing that's already been done, but by myself, Bobby Sandel, Michael Neal. There's a few folks from CloudBees who were kind enough to try this out fairly early on, which means we've got some good tickets and bugs that have all come in. The first big thing that I actually wanted to talk about, and this was more with something I've been waiting for you to get back from vacation to discuss, Baptiste, is the concept of user installation of plugins, which I know is something that you were certain was going to be a problem.
Right away.
And as luck turns out, it was a problem pretty much immediately.
When I saw your comment, I was about to, run around in the room shouting to everybody, and, everyone around saying, I was right. No, anyway, my main point was not that we should not ever do that, but that I think it was maybe a bit early to allow everything, to open the pipes.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. There may be. So we've got these 2 tickets. Let me pull open the other one too. These 2 tickets that Bobby had filed after giving this a try, and pretty much the behavior that Baptiste was worried about turned out to be true. That adding plugins that we haven't tested, that are outside of this package of plugins that we distribute, will destabilize the system, which is exactly what happened. So I assigned these 2 tickets to me, and I think for now, for this milestone 1, I think it's reasonable to say that we're going to disable the installation of plugins and stick with the included list for now, which means we probably need to open up that inclusion list to include some other useful plugins.
Yeah, right. My point is that we should try and close down the list, but have some kind of process, even if it might be still a bit early for that. But some core things that we do know that they are going to be really useful, even for core use cases. But for things that are not clearly core, then have some kind of way to say, okay, we are going to do that later, or maybe much later, or unlikely later. But yes, right. Closing things in the kind of a beta. I don't find the right word, but beta stage period to have this, because right now for people watching, we could say that even probably with a handful of instances, it could already become very easily and quickly overwhelming, the number of warnings we receive over Sentry, which by the way works fine. We already started receiving a lot of things, so I think if we open to more people and less experts and friends which are going to report things the right way, it might backfire.
So I wanted to I don't know if you've looked at this, Mandy. I wanted to bring up the Sentry. It looks like we've gotten a large number of warnings, which is fun. These I've been seeing in my in my system logs. I didn't realize that they actually went up to Sentry. But we do have the feedback loop here, and as Baptiste was doing earlier today, there's some improvements that we can add to Sentry to make it a little bit easier to triage and deal with these tickets, or these unresolved issues.
You've used Sentry before, Tyler, right?
Right.
So if I understand correctly, on the right, the column users should show, I guess, the number of people, different people who hit that kind of warning. Is that this is somehow the meaning of that column?
That is, assuming that we're sending that information over.
We're not, because I reported something this morning and already filed the PR to enrich that.
And it's already been merged.
Oh, right. I didn't see that. So that's oh my
Yeah.
God. Wait. So, but then the issue is that we got back to your earlier point, I think this week or last week, about the fact that we are going to need pretty soonish, more than soonish, be able to update the client, which we do not right now.
Right. So that brings me to the second topic.
Oh my God, transitions.
Yeah. So let me segue here. So with the plugins, there's some behavior that I think I can easily restrict, and I plan on restricting from this this Nginx work that I've been doing. So this is a pattern that I experimented with a project called Code Valet last year, which worked out really well. But basically, because our container, as soon as I finish up this work, our container will include an Nginx proxy in front of Jenkins. Then instead of needing to hack that Evergreen plugin to restrict some of this behavior, which is perhaps the quote unquote right way to do this, we can easily black hole some routes like the tool installers or the plugin pages, and just use Nginx to redirect those to some built-in documentation that says, here's why you can't access this page, and here's what you should do about it if you really care. So I'm going to take on that as part of, or as a follow-on to this work. This work being the providing feedback on the booting process to users, pull requests that I have open right now that I'm anticipating fixing today. And then once that's done, then the next sort of project is something Mandy and I chatted a little bit about last week, which is upgrading not just Evergreen client, but upgrading what I've been referring to as the Evergreen support system. So if we look at, if I go to the distribution code, so we've got client and config, which we definitely are going to need to be iterating upon, at least in some fashion. And with the changes that I am incorporating now, we will also have some static pages and documentation, which we need to upgrade or distribute in the same way, in the same sort of pattern that we distribute the Jenkins distribution right now.
Yeah,
and potentially, that make sense, Baptiste?
Absolutely, because actually last week, I think, as I was adding the shim somehow in the scripts directory, I was thinking kind of the same. I was thinking, okay, right, because well, I was fixing some issue that was reported, by the way, by Bobby. You know, the fact that we changed the admin password each time, and I was thinking, okay, right, next we can't update that because it's the script. So we are going to have people to, ask people to just to update their container, their image, they pull a new one and so on. So right now we basically would need to be able to update anything in the thing, or as I commented, I think this morning in some issue, maybe for some cases for simpleness reasons and so on, we should ask people, on a regular basis or something to actually get out of the normal update process and Docker pull and Docker run a new version of the container or of the image. Do you have some thoughts about that?
So I do. I think we're going to have to do the Docker pull or the Docker container update anyways, because there's going to be Java package updates that have to happen, or node security updates that have to happen.
Exactly.
Those are going to be very, very infrequent, though. I would expect those to only happen maybe once every few months, if that. But the Jenkins support stuff, we'll definitely want to upgrade more frequently than that. So I think we have to do both. Yeah. But I think like the simple case for now is, we're going to be improving Evergreen client and some of the configuration as code stuff as configuration as code matures to where we will want to push that in the same way as we're pushing today, the plugins and other parts. So I think if we view, I was having a conversation with Daniel yesterday. He categorized my viewpoint as slightly patronizing towards users, which I agree. It is a little bit patronizing, but I don't think we can expect all users to be updating on a regular basis. And so if we assume that most users will not update with any frequency, then the things that are really important to make Jenkins Evergreen work, I think we'll want to put that into our update distribution system to make sure that it gets to our users.
Yeah. And also we somehow similar to that, I think at some point, probably rather sooner than later, we'll need to have some more involved testing framework, because right now we don't test a number of cases, like, for instance, updating the container, for instance, the image, that has been built in the middle, and so you would restart over the volume and so on. Because I am talking about that because I saw something from Jesse somewhere saying that he lost his build records, and I did see on my instance, doing exactly that pull and so on, that I lost my first builds. So I didn't take time until now to dig into it. But well, there would be some cases we definitely do not test right now, and we need something bigger and something more involved to think bigger than just the little thing I set up in the beginning, and now getting sometimes harder and harder to.
Yeah, if you haven't filed a ticket for that, will you file just a task to implement that upgrade test?
Yeah.
I think, yeah, we've got enough in Docker Hub to where if we just pulled the latest container and then ran that with a volume and then tested our new container with a volume, that could be that would be definitely helpful. But I wanted to chat a little bit with Mandy, so she can come off mute, about some of the updating of the client, or the pattern that we had discussed a little bit yesterday. I'm wondering if you've given that any more, sorry, not yesterday. We discussed that Friday? Thursday or Friday? Yeah, I'm wondering if you've given any more thought to how the upgrade process for the distribution should work. The support distribution, rather.
Right. I mean, yeah, it's because basically I'm at the point with the script where we need to pin it down specifically before I can finish it.
Okay.
The short answer is, okay, so we were planning, I think, a new section in the status response, right?
The update level, yeah.
Yep. And then with that, my plan for that was we would download the file. The client itself would have to handle the file renaming, which we'll need to come up with a consistent scheme for that. Probably just renaming with the version numbers would be the simplest. And then it'll be up to the startup script that the supervisor D. The client will have to kill itself,
right?
Which will be fun. And then the startup script will handle, assuming that the files are already in place, it will handle starting up. And if it doesn't work, then it will look for a rollback file, replace the file with the rollback file, and try to start up again. Now, if that still doesn't work, I'm not sure how to handle that. Do we want it to keep trying to roll back? Or at some point, is it going to go, I don't know what to do, and throw its hands up?
I think what we can probably do is like we'll have a status page after my work is done here in this pull request. And so we'll have some means of saying to the user, like, look, things are really, really screwed up right now. You should just download the container anew and try again. What I'm thinking, like, as I'm talking through this right now, what I'm realizing is that the update level process that we have in place right now assumes that the client is going to start, or sorry, that the system is going to start with only with the latest update level, right? Like the Evergreen client comes online and then it reaches out to evergreen.jenkins.io and gets the latest if it doesn't have anything locally. But we would have something baked in, which is going to be interesting.
I mean, that was one of the points that I had brought up in our conversation, where if the container's kind of old and you're starting it up, you could be jumping ahead quite a few versions for the initial update.
I think with the support system, that might be okay. Baptiste, do you have any thoughts on that?
Not really, to be honest.
Okay.
That's not something I gave a lot of thoughts up to now.
So the big reason, Mandy, for background, the big reason we're very conservative with the Jenkins plugin updates is that, and we want to walk update level by update level, is because the, I might as well stop sharing my screen for now, is because the Jenkins plugins by and large can have data incompatibilities between big version jumps, to where they might write data to disk for version 1, and then if you go directly to version 2, you may miss an update which actually does a data migration. That has happened before. But I think for the Evergreen support distribution, it might be, we don't really write a lot of state to disk. We only write the keys and the latest update level to disk. We might be able to get away with a big jump ahead for the support distribution.
Yeah, I think we had agreed to just kind of go with it for now, and if we ever hit this area in the future, we can revisit retooling it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think since Baptiste probably needs some time to mentally process some of this, since we hadn't really discussed this before, and he's still shaking off that vacation, I think I think what I'll do today is, my meeting load is looking quite promising. I'll get a pull request that creates the tarball package that should have everything that we need to apply those updates. For the support distribution, I'll create a pull request with that, and then maybe that'll give you something you can start from, Mandy, and we can tweak it as we move along.
Okay, sounds good.
So Baptiste, the stuff that we were anxiously waiting for you to get back from vacation for was all of this AWS stuff and some of the configuration as code stuff.
Yes.
So
what is the question?
Like, I don't recall how far along the AWS CloudFormation stuff is, but for me that was one of the big blockers for a blog post on Jenkins.io saying that milestone 1 was ready. Is having a launch stack button that a user could click to launch it into AWS.
Well, there's quite a few things in the pipe right now which needs fixing, I guess, before being able to jump onto that. But like, for instance, securing the instance, like because of the update with upkeep and so on. I think some of those things, for instance, are probably more urgent than that button. But then or maybe in parallel, I could be probably able to ask some friends and colleagues, because I think we already did that in the past. I mean, we as company or relatives. Um, because yes, so as for people watching, we do have already the CloudFormation template, but we do not really, I do not really know how to make it, seamlessly usable through some click or something, which I never tried. And so my initial thought about that was that we would need to set up some kind of marketplace thingy.
Mhm.
And you were saying that you thought it would be you thought it would be feasible without needing that, and that was a state of discussion. And in the middle, we did a few other things, but yes, to make it clickable, and I guess it would, in your mind, it would be something that would log you in into your, AWS account and blah blah blah.
Well, let me. I wonder if I'm logged into Azure right now. I'm not. I'm gonna log into Azure real quick. The behavior that we have on Azure is that you can. Oops! If I could spell my username correctly, that would help. Very important. Actually, an interesting security problem, Microsoft. You're not supposed to disclose whether an account exists or not. So let me get this open, and I'll show you how this works with Azure, which I think CloudFormation does an identical version.
I would expect it.
Go and share my screen again. All right.
That is not Azure.
I know that, Baptiste.
I seem to remember that thing.
So what we have right now, this is a button similar to the launch stack button that I've seen for CloudFormation. And what this does, this deploy to Azure button, is it actually references, like it passes a URL parameter to the Microsoft portal with a URL to the JSON ARM template, which is the Azure Resource Manager template, which is the logical equivalent of CloudFormation. And when, actually, sorry, they used to do that. Let me go to the quick start. I forgot they changed that. Azure. This will make it more clear then. Quick start templates. So let's just take a simple one. Let's do ACS Kubernetes. Of course, that doesn't have a button. There we go.
Yeah, kind of log you in, and then it's going. I would expect it would going to be asking you the parameters, and yeah.
Yep.
Right.
And I'm almost certain that AWS has a similar behavior with CloudFormation templates.
Likely, I guess.
To where I was thinking, if our CloudFormation template was in our GitHub repository, that the launch stack button would be able to point to that.
Possibly, I can and at least have a look at that. I just never had the time to dig into it, and I thought thought that it would kind of require to be in the marketplace, and it would offer some kind of thing like this, which because so for Azure it's really different, and there's also a marketplace, and those are two different things, right?
Correct.
Right. Okay. So I guess it should be the same on AWS.
Yeah, I don't think we'll need anything in the marketplace, which would be good. But yeah, as you mentioned, I actually just went ahead and reordered some of these. Like some of these bugs are definitely high priority. For me, the prerequisite to the Jenkins IO blog post the prerequisites. Sorry, it's plural. We need the secure defaults configured. Like these three tickets, or sorry, these two bugs should be resolved. Mandy and I should have the support distribution update resolved. And then I should have the status page, the built-in status page and information also resolved.
Shouldn't you file a Jenkins.io blog ticket and mark, those tickets as is being blocked by something like this? It will help everyone track what is blocking the noise.
The big announcement. Yeah. Yeah, those are to me the sort of like mission critical, really important tickets to address before we can
sure
sort of open the floodgates, if you will.
By the way, I wonder if we should make a pass. I think now many things I generally put in Milestone 1, and if I'm not sure, I'm going to tackle it myself because I'm sure it's important and so on. I generally assign it to you so that you can just decide as the PM, decide if we should just defer it to Milestone 2 or you have too many caps. So that's why.
Yeah, so last week I did go through and I actually pruned a lot of the stuff in Milestone 1. I have to move Raul's tickets out. I don't know if Raul is going to come back and help or not. But I think that we will have most of the stuff I've been moving into Milestone 2 that are sort of nice to haves. And I've started to triage what's in Milestone 2 and what's redundant and sort of where we would go from there.
Yeah. In my previous position, we had some kind of special milestone, not a really milestone, but one was called the fridge and one was called the freezer. And when things were in the freezer for long, generally we would close then have one fix because, unlikely to ever come back. And anyway, we can just reopen if really it comes back. But try and free your mind.
I'm guessing that you were using Pivotal Tracker.
No, we were using that thing that was acquired by CA Technologies, which in turn got acquired recently, but I don't remember the name. It was kind of one of the major agile tool that kind of competing with mainly Jira, I suppose. You get in a different area. Anyway, diverging.
So with the tasks that we have open, are there anything, like for you, Mandy, are there any things that you need other than the support distribution layout that we discussed already?
Nope, I'm working through the tickets that Baptiste sent to me, so I will reach out if I have any questions on those.
Okay, cool. And Baptiste, same for you?
No, I think that's good. That's okay. And anyway, I generally use asynchronism, and I ping you over the different Jiras I need your feedback on, or I think you should be aware of. So,
well, the thing with asynchronous is it only works if we're both around the same time. But if you're sending me stuff early in the morning when I'm asleep, then of course I won't see it.
No, but I mean, if it's a Jira, if you're saying that you get too many notifications from Jira to get ever able to process them, then I can proceed differently. No. But that's what I mean.
Okay, fair enough. Then yeah, I get plenty of I get all the stuff for the Evergreen project in Jira. So yeah, keep filing stuff. That should work.
Okay.
All right, sounds good. Any questions before we move forward?
I guess that's fine.
Okay.
Thank you, and see you soon.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
See you both back in Gitter.